Trigger warning. This podcast episode contains discussions of domestic violence, rape, and sexual abuse. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Emotional Abuse is Real. I'm your host, Sarene Leeds, and I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin, just a quick reminder that there will be no new episode next Wednesday, November 22nd, as it's the day before Thanksgiving here in the U.S. To all of those who celebrate, I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Emotional Abuse is Real will be back with brand new episodes on Wednesday, November 29th. Shifting gears, here's my weekly reminder that Emotional Abuse is Real still needs your support, and there are several ways you can do that. First of all, if you're a listener and you'd like to share your story, please don't hesitate to reach out via Instagram at Sarene Leeds Writes. That's SareneLeedsWrites. Or you can reach out via our Emotional Abuse is Real Facebook page, or via email at hello@SareneLeedsWrites.com. A reminder that anonymous guests are always welcome. Another way you can support Emotional Abuse is Real is by heading over to Apple Podcasts and both leaving a rating and writing a review. The more reviews we get, the easier it is for people to find this podcast. Finally, you can support the podcast by following me on Instagram at Sarene Leeds Writes and following our Facebook page, Emotional Abuse is Real. And if you are able, please consider donating to our Buy Me a Coffee page, which I've linked in the show notes. As I've said before, this is a one-woman operation, and your donations help fund the podcast's production costs. I'd also like to remind you about my free newsletter. This is a great opportunity to stay up to date on my latest published articles as well as new podcast episodes. Also, it's a wonderful way to stay in touch with me directly, especially if you are a business or brand owner looking to punch up your website, email, or social media copy. I am available to work with you on any writing or editing you may need with your business and brand copy. Plus, as an added bonus, I send out a free delicious dessert recipe to every new subscriber. I've left the sign-up link in the show notes. You can also subscribe directly via my website, SareneLeedsWrites.com. My guest for today's episode is Jillian Edwards Coburn. Jillian is an author, an advocate, and an abuse survivor. As she says during our conversation, she's been to hell and back, and she's 100% right. But Jillian is also a force of nature. She's channeled her trauma into a memoir called My Ugly Truth, Life After Abuse. And now she works tirelessly as a sexual abuse advocate. 2 years ago, she served on a committee that helped get Bill 492 passed in Louisiana, which removed filing deadlines for childhood sexual abuse lawsuits. Buckle up, folks, because you're in for one hell of a wild ride with this episode. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Jillian Edwards Coburn.
Hi guys, my name is Jillian Edwards Coburn. I am a Cajun girl. I'm from Louisiana. I'm a 3-time published author. I'm an advocate for children against sexual abuse. I'm also a bill writer, and I'm also strongly advocate for women in domestic violence relationships. And I'm also an inventor and a mom of 3. I'm living on a farm now. How does it get any better than that?
That is so cool. Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. We've got a lot to talk about. So, for those who are not familiar with your story, if you could please share your story with our listeners. Yeah.
I began writing probably in my late 20s. I became a single mom at the age of 25. I graduated high school super young. I was 17. I'd skipped a grade. I was really smart. as a really bad kid, honestly. Now that I have kids my own age, I'm like, God bless my mom and dad. Thank God, goodness for prayer. But beside the point, I married my first husband. I come from a very Catholic family, and there was no divorces in our family, I don't believe. So prior to having Gabby and meeting my first husband, I was raped at the age of 17. I'd gone to UMC. I was afraid to tell my mom and dad. You have to remember, I come from a very, very Catholic family. I had never been to the gynecologist. So that was the first time I had ever gone. It was super scary. I called my best friend at the time. She brought me to the hospital, and then the nurse asked me to give the name, and I was scared to give the name. And she's like, well, we need to call your parents. And we ran out. But I do have the rape kit. So I'm wondering if the rape kit's still there. I'm curious. Now that I'm back at home, I might seek into that. But
wow. Okay. Yeah. That was going to be my next question, if they were even able to do a rape kit.
Yes, they did.
Okay, good. Yes. Yeah.
So I know in Texas, when I was volunteering with TASA and working with detectives, things like that in the crime units, they did keep those in particular, evidence. They have to keep them for so long. So
sure.
I'm curious to be active and activate what they have in the crime. There's so many things going under investigations with the state police here in Louisiana. So good to guide Jillian might go into that. Okay, I'm totally sidebarring. So
that's okay. And just real quick, I'm sorry, what was it you were volunteering with? TAS?
The Texas Against Sexual Assaults.
Thank you.
No
just
problem.
Yeah.
I know all these acronyms.
Yeah.
So I had Gabriella at the age of 18. Got married at the age of 18. I originally started college, and I was going into marketing, and my mom's like, no, you need to become a school teacher so that you can be at home with your kids. And, I'm a young girl. Think about it. I mean, gosh, I literally look at my kids. I'm like, y'all have no idea. Y'all have life so figured out for y'all. But anyway.
No, I get it. And just
life skills,
Totally. And so your first daughter, was that your first husband's child?
Yes. So my first husband, I have 2 children. I have 3 children total.
Right.
2 from my first husband and 1 from my current husband. And so I stayed in a very crazy relationship, and I was scared at the time. And as a young girl, I had no one to go to. I, again, got pregnant right out of high school. My friends kind of dropped me. They went into sororities. They really didn't check in on me. And I think that's later on in life as a good adult. That's why I wrote the book, because I wanted to be able to give young ladies the ability to know that you can do it. You can go to college. You can achieve anything, right? You can overcome. I've overcome so many obstacles.
Yeah.
Literally. If I can do it, anybody can. It's really, we got to tap into our brains and really let go of these strongholds that, or we tell ourselves these same stories, right? And I think growing up, I was told, okay, you're going to go to school, you're going to get married, you're going to have kids, and you're going to be a good Catholic wife, right? And that was like always my dream, was really to be a mom, and that's what I am doing now, and I love doing it. But I didn't have that. I think my mom, when I did get pregnant, she was like, no, you're going to go to school. And I'm glad she did give me that ability, because when I was in a bad relationship in my first marriage and other relationships that I continued on, right?
Yeah.
I honestly think that if I had a good pal, or I had some great tools in my toolbox, I could have gently and gracefully taken care of Jillian.
Yes.
And not hurt my own self and others around me. And I think that's what a lot of trauma comes from, is that we don't deal with things that we don't think that we're able to handle, and we just stuff it in. We
sweep it under the rug. Yeah.
We don't identify like, hey, it's okay to like heal that younger version of ourselves, or identify. I mean, I've done extensive therapy. So like, I'm a genius of EMDR, and I love it and I support it. It's amazing, right? But it's really important to go back to those things that heighten our nervous systems.
Yes.
And like, wait, who am I being at this moment? Like, what is going on? And channeling in on your own nervous system and being like, okay, let's bring it down to where it needs to go, instead of being flared up, right?
Totally,
I
totally.
learned this being a wiser woman, right? I wish I
Oh,
knew what I
yeah.
know now. I think everyone says that.
But none of us did. But none of us did. It's not until after we were in these toxic relationships that we go into therapy that we learn. And then all we want to do is go back to our younger selves, or whatever we can do to prevent these kinds of relationships from happening. You know, the book that you've written, this podcast,
Right.
this is why we do it.
Awareness.
So yeah, awareness, so important. So yeah, I don't want to interrupt you from telling the story of your first husband. So yeah.
So it was like super hard. And at the time, my father and I were super close. I grew up, I had such a great life. Like I honestly had the best mom and dad. I look back, I was really lucky. My sisters and I mean, we weren't like the Joneses or anything. We were really comfortable. You know, my mom and dad did struggle at times to send us to private school. But we were okay, you know? Yeah. But anyway, beside the point,
it's okay. So this is what podcasts are for.
My dad and I were super close. Like that was like my best bud. And he came home one day and he found out that he had 6 months to live. So that was a really trying time. And I used substances to numb my pain. And I strongly don't suggest that to be the number one go-to. Even though, like, you know, look, I get it. Sometimes you need a drink, okay? You need to just chill out. I drink a glass of beer or a glass of wine when I'm eating my food, like cooking, you know, I work all day from 5:30 on myself in the morning till at nighttime, restarting my day. Every day is a new day. But it's programming yourself to get into this routine of knowing, okay, I got this, but knowing, okay, I can have a drink and not be crazy with it.
Yes, exactly.
And know your limits.
Totally. And for you to tell me that, like, you know, you turn to substances, well, sorry, but that's not exactly an original.
That's original
idea. Right. You're not alone is what I'm saying. Yeah.
But there's like, you know, I don't know, like, I guess being a 25-year-old scared girl, losing my dad, about to jump ship from a relationship that was so toxic and just like, I mean, I love Jeremy to death. We have 2 children together, you know, but he's an addict and he has literally gave us a ride for our money. You know, like I feel like he's my own kid, but he's gotten better. And it was just a hard thing to do. And I get it. And I get women now who are like in their 40s or they're like, I can't do this shit anymore. I can't take my husband battering me with going to the damn grocery store and itemizing it when dickhead is using the card to do whatever. That's financial abuse, you know?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I can go on with certain things and then people just waking up and being like, I deserve so much more. Right. And knowing those boundaries and knowing that you're not going to step on these boundaries and you're not going to disrespect me and I'm not going to disrespect you. Right. I don't know. Relationships are super tough. Marriages are even harder. It was our engagement anniversary yesterday, my husband and I, and it's like, God, we've been together a really long time.
How long?
12 years.
Oh, wonderful. Congratulations. Yeah.
But that's a long time for me.
It is. It is a long time. It is a long time. Sure. But what I'm learning, especially through this podcast, is that so many domestic abusers, whether it's physical, emotional abuse, narcissistic abuse, they are damaged and they are the ones who need help. And if they're not going to get help, then you have to take yourself out of that situation. Exactly. Because it's untenable.
Yes, I can tell you guys so many tells of so many men that I tried to fix.
Please do. Yeah.
You know, I mean, in my book, I was just very quite frank with my relationships and trying to find Mr. Wrong in all the right places, you know, and just allowing and thinking that like, oh, I got it all under, I had it all under control because I like went get therapy and like I knew what I needed to do. But then I became almost codependent trying to like, it's like I attracted so many addicts, if that made sense. And I'm like, oh, I can
Yeah.
save you. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then they ended up like fracturing my face, I had the Innocence Project actually come to my house. Do you know what the Innocence Project is?
Yes, that I do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I live in a very undisclosed location in Louisiana.
I understand.
And
Yeah.
if you're coming down my driveway, you better be ready to announce yourself so I should know that you're coming in. So this person came, and it was the Innocence Project. And I had filed a police report against my second husband that I was married to for 3 weeks.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. And in the police report, I state that he did this. And I hate Eminem for the song. With Rihanna, I'm going to set this house on fire. And he came to the house. And long story short, he's a criminal. Okay.
Right.
He's been arrested so many times. And that's why I divorced him. Because my mom came home and she gave me the rap sheet. That's another thing you should do. You should always run background checks on every person your significant child sees.
Yeah.
Let them see and then let them make that decision. Right. But I reported because I left this person and I filed divorce. I did it on my own, super easy.
Good for you. Yeah.
And I set those boundaries, right? I'm like, you're a drug dealer and you have a 5-page rap sheet. Looks like you've done some criminal activity, and that's not the route that I'm going on, And he came to my house because we were married. And even though I did this temporary restraining order, he came to the house. He stole the washing machine, the dryer, the stove, my daughter's bed. It was just crazy. Like, why?
What do you do with your daughter's bed?
No.
And
this beautiful crystal chandelier that my Uncle Wally gave me that I never got back. And I should have went get back, but he scared me, I wasn't going to put fire on fire. They just
No. Someone like that, it's as beautiful as the chandelier was, it's not worth it. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, this guy, Daniel Prince, is sitting in prison, who's known as the attorney came to my house, and he's like, you're the only one who married this dummy, basically is what he said. And do you think he's like an informant? I was like, obviously you're an informant if you've been arrested that many times and you're still on the streets, Yeah. But my report just showed this guy was supposedly convicted for burning down a trailer with 2 women in the house.
Jesus.
And I don't know. Y'all should just go read Daniel Prince versus the state of Louisiana and the Frugier part. Y'all read that.
We will. Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, I kept making the wrong choices of men constantly.
Yeah.
It's called the cycle of abuse. It's called almost, what was I diagnosed with? It was Stockholm syndrome. So you take back a person and you're, So I'm like, okay, I'm like the strongest person, I've been through hell and back. What can I do to change this mindset, And so I met my husband. He was completely different than anyone I had ever met. Military, obviously never been arrested.
For you, that's a really good sign.
Yeah, right. And life got a little bit easier after that,
Yeah.
And then I had the ability to know my worth and know that I deserve so much more and to live every day like it's your last day. Because we can't look into the future. We can live for today so that we can see tomorrow, right? And hope that we wake up the next day.
And were you in therapy by the time you met your current husband?
Yeah, I have been in therapy for, I want to say, from the age of 25 to current. Whenever I had filed. Fast forward.
Okay.
So I wrote the first book, My Ugly Truth, Life Beyond Abuse. And I had been writing it for 2 years. Your first book, you really are like, oh, I don't know, but there's no wrong or right. Write the damn book, guys. Do it.
Yeah.
It's super easy. Find a self-publish yourself. You can do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to leave a legacy, right? And I wanted to leave a story, and I wanted to leave a toolkit. And so I'm living my best life. And my husband really did not like living in Lafayette, Louisiana. There wasn't a lot of growth for us. And he wanted to go back to active duty military. And so my daughter was graduating from high school at the time. And then she got into Tulane. And I was like, okay, she'll be okay. You know, she's resilient. I'll move, I guess, you know. And
Yeah.
I was really like Catholic thumping, as they call it, like going to church every day, like saying my novenas. And I met this quacky Jackie lady from the church, and it is funny. It's a terrible story.
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I love hearing, like you said, wacky stories about the Catholic Church. I'm married to a guy who was raised Catholic.
Makes
raised
sense.
Catholic. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm like, my best friend and I, she was having problems with her husband. I'm like, I mean, like, you need to just give it to prayer. Like, I've given you everything that I could give you. Leave or like stay in it and be a martyr. I don't know what to tell you. And so we met this woman, and she's like, oh, there's this priest and he's healed people. And then like I searched it, and he like really healed people. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I'm like, you know, fascinated, like shiny object.
Shiny object.
I'm a serious person, you know? Nothing bad had happened to me in so long. I obviously had to go find it. So my friend is drunk in church. I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's like so different because like Catholic churches, like they don't allow like clergy to go up and testify, like, give testimonies. And I'm like, what is going on here, you know? And there were some great testimonies actually about him healing. And I'm like, wow, you know, and Katie's like, oh my gosh, I just need him to lay hands on me and I'm good. And I knew that I had no ailments. Like I had cervical cancer that I got at like the age of 27. I'm a survivor of that. And
wow. Okay.
I had an abortion. And so, but I you know, I repented in church. Why do I need to go and seek out rescue Jillian? Jeez. So I'm like, so I could tell the priest that. I'm like, well, let's just offer up this prayer for my husband. You know, he just got deployed. Let's pray that he doesn't go to war and dies. You know, he survived 7 different deployments. And he was like kind of shocked that I said that, and say whatever. I didn't fall over like all these Catholic people. I'm like, God, I must be possessed by the devil. Like, spirit don't like me. And it didn't happen to Katie either. And then afterwards, he was like, whoa, you need to come see me. Something bad's about to happen. You need to go get a gallon of holy water. I'm like, what? And you need to sprinkle it around your house. I'm like, oh my gosh. So she does all this. And then the craziest thing happens. She sends me a video, and it's her husband like going cuckoo on her with a baseball bat, like breaking the window. And she's like, you need to call that priest right now. We need to go see him. So fast forward to seeing the priest. I got his personal cell phone number, you know, because I needed that emergency.
Yeah.
Like, how do you predict that to happen, right? Like he forced weird shit.
Yeah.
So I went with her, and it was super even weirder because it was a person's home, and Donald Trump was on TV, like the debates, and it was like an old Cajun house. And you like walk into this side room, kind of like the room I'm kind of in, and there's like all these Marys, and it smelled like piss. That should have been a red flag, right? Sorry, this is like
no, this is fine. You can't make this shit up, man. Oh my God. I mean, yeah.
So my friend is a childhood sexual survivor from the age from 4 to 12. And he told us that we needed to go see him, me 8 times, but did not give Katie a limit. And then we started like going to therapy with our husbands. And it was super weird because he'd be like, okay, y'all need to go in the other room. And then he would molest us. He would touch our vaginas and our breast. And so like, I thought it's because like I had an abortion, I had cervical cancer. Like I thought he was just praying over that. Right. And so each time it got more intense. And so Katie came to me and was like, bruh, I think we're brainwashed and we're being molested by the old 87-year-old man. This is so fucked up. Excuse my language, bleep. Jillian, you need to stop seeing him. I'm like, bro, I got 3 more times and I'm going to be healed. I was so brainwashed. And the last time he had touched me, it was really, really totally inappropriate. I don't want to discuss it. Mm-hmm. And I was in so much discernment that I had this crazy dream that the Virgin Mary appeared to me and that I needed to report this. And I was like, okay, that's like crazy. I'm like delusional now, you know? And my uncle, who's now dead, he's a priest. He's also a survivor. That's why he became a priest, because he was molested by a nun and a priest. And so he dedicated his life to protect children, right? And that's why I fought for this bill in Louisiana that we won for him, and because he got an apology from the bishop.
Oh, wow.
So
good for
try to
him.
like, you know, help people and not scandalize, you know, just protect innocent children.
Yes.
So Katie tells me this, and I think she's being crazy, and it does happen, right?
Yeah.
And I keep praying and praying, and Lonnie's deployed. I haven't even told my husband, you know, I'm scared to tell him because he ended up shooting the old man. And then how am I supposed to support myself? Go to work? That sounds horrible.
Yeah. I get that.
So
man.
I kept praying and praying. And then my husband, Lonnie, came. Little Lonnie was going down to the school, St. Mary's, where all my kids went to pre-K. Beautiful school, love it. There was now a crying Mary that was crying the other day.
Oh, really?
So, my husband shows up on the Assumption of Mary. And so Catholics, it's a day of obligation. You're supposed to go. And so like, I love the Virgin Mary, by the way. Like as a little girl, my sister and I used to pray to her, and like angels would talk to us. Like I really believe that. And Lonnie appears and he's like, I knew that this is like such a special day. I showed up. I'm going to take little Lonnie to McDonald's, and you and your mom go to mass, go to your uncle's mass. And I was like, first sign, right? That's so crazy. And so I'm like, Lord, you're going to have to like appear, because like, this is some gutsy stuff. Like, woo, I wrote a book about my life, you know, but this is like going on a deeper spiritual level. Like you have really messed with my mind. Like I need some signs of apparition. So we're in mass. Yeah. I'm praying and I'm crying. My mom's like, is everything okay? I'm like, no, everything's not okay, Mom.
Right.
Is Lonnie abusing you? I'm like,
no.
And I was like, Lord, I really need a sign. And so like during the consecration of the Eucharist, the priest breaks the host. I never get that peace. I got that peace that day. And so I was like, all right, I got to talk to my uncle. And so on my way out, Uncle Dan's like, what's wrong, baby? And I was like, I need to talk to you. And he's like, well, come to my house. You know, and he lives in Carencro, literally somewhere, like literally right up the road. So I'm like, all right, I'll be there. I'm going to be there in a second. So like, I meet him at his house and I tell him everything. And he's like, he knew about the man. And he said that he used to go to the property where Charlene Reshort is buried, where she's actually becoming a saint, this little girl. And his little crew, as he called it, he's like, they're not real. And you need to report this. You don't need to go to the church. You need to go to the police, and you need to report this, and you need to finish this, and you don't need to stop. And I support you. And I'm like, whoa.
That's what you needed.
I did need that.
Yeah.
I really did need that. I needed support from my family.
Yeah.
And to do what I did, because it took 5 years, and we finally settled in 2022. They settled on mediation.
Okay.
I couldn't do it anymore. Like, oh my gosh, my husband divorced me. And then he withdrew the divorce, but it was that bad. And then like my little boy was like, my middle child was acting. I mean, it was just like, I was so disassociated. Thank God for therapy. It saved my life. It honestly saved my freaking life. And thank God for my friend with walking with me. And thank God for my husband and my aunts and my mom and my sister and my sisters in Christ that I prayed with, that brought me back to God. And praise God for them. Honestly, without my support group, I would not be here today, because that was the ultimate abuse.
Yes.
To have that spiritual attack on you, and something that you've been told your whole entire life, and have all I ever wanted. And I did it in mediation. I was going to give my share to the victim. There was other victims.
Oh, how could there not
about it? And my attorney's like, what the hell? How did you know about this?
Yeah.
God wanted this to prevail. And it did prevail. And I'm all about prevailing. It's like, stop hiding like you're like a little spider, and stop like attacking upon vulnerable people. It's not okay. Yeah. And it's not okay to use religion. It's like, it's the same thing as, you know, like a person, like a doctor, like, you know, you go see your gynecologist. Like, I mean, wouldn't that be like crazy if your gynecologist was like, okay, like, you don't think anything, and nor do you question a person.
Of course, because you're raised to trust the priest. You're raised to look at them as authority figures, but they not only physically abused you, but they abused that authority. They abused that trust. And I say, good for you for speaking out. Thank you for telling this story, because these stories still need to be told. And I'm so grateful for you that you had your uncle who understood, and he said the things that you needed to hear.
It's so
And you
true.
needed to
You're gonna make me
to
cry.
hear.
Don't do that.
Times.
But it is true though. It is when you're in the state of just like, I cannot believe this is really happening. Like I said, I have literally, and going through that, I was disassociated. My cousin, I had wrote this book. I had gone on this book tour. Then I wrote like a cookbook. It was COVID. And then my cousin called me and he's like, I need your help on some cases. And I'm like, you do like masked heart. Like, how can I help you with the pharmaceutical? I don't know anything about that. And he's like, no. And then he had shared with me that he had got the Boy Scouts of America cases. So
did he?
So my girlfriend and I, who were going through a federal lawsuit, took on 750 clients and helped them out. I helped so many people find therapy through Medicaid, doing EMDR, listen hours at a time. And then I had to stop doing that because, girl, that's what I'm saying. I have been in the pits of hell.
Yes, you have.
Every sin on earth. And I tell you what, I wanted to live heaven on earth and show heaven on earth every day to everyone, because you can't have it.
Oh,
because you know what you want and you know what you don't want. So choose what you want.
Exactly. This is why we need people like you. This is why I'm so happy that you are here and you are telling these stories, and that you are making it clear that you want to help others. And I get it. Like, you can't help everyone, because you also have to take care of yourself.
So that's what I was going to go to. So I'm like, whenever I met my husband, I was working for a nonprofit, Literacy Inc. And so I was really good at that. I was a grant writer. It was like, when I get into something, I give it like 110%. And then I get really bored and then I get tired of it. Right. So I'm like, okay, I love, and I still have survivors, and where I'm at, I'm on 46 acres. And so again, it takes about a mile to get down my driveway. And since we've moved 2 months ago, I have helped 2 survivors come out about their stories.
Oh, wonderful.
And they're like, this place is so tranquil. And so I had envisioned, because this was like a really big step to come back home for me.
Sure.
This is something I avoided for 5 years of my life. You know what I'm saying? And I stood, they say you're supposed to stand in front of your biggest fear. And I'm doing it. And I'm okay. Like I said, there's some good days. There's some really damn good days, but there's some really punchful days where it's like, gosh, why do you have to remind me about that? You know?
I was going to ask you, like, how are you doing with that? And you just told me.
I'm really taking care of myself.
Good.
I'm taking care of my family, and I'm taking on a couple of people, to help them, but knowing that my limit, like, I know when time comes for testimony for these clients that I've helped my cousin, I will be there for them. But I had to change my number because it was just getting out of hand. It's like, I am not a licensed therapist. I am not an attorney. Right. So I can't give you that. Like, you can call your attorney, and I gave you a therapist. So go seek that. But I'm actually going to open up a nonprofit. Okay. And I'm going to create a scholarship each year for a victim. And I'm going to pay for their therapy, their EMDR therapy, to finish from start to the end. Yeah. So I have a girlfriend in New Orleans and a girlfriend in New York that we are going to create the organization. And we're just coming up for a name for it right now. So that's how I'm giving back, because I know that is the best thing that I could have ever gave myself is therapy. And a lot of people can't afford it, or a lot of people just simply don't want to do it. Yeah, that is true. What is right for you, and you can't force anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. So I'll give you a plethora amount of information. You can use it, But if you
Yeah.
don't want to use it, then that's your choice. You're gonna. I mean, I heard a conversation from a girlfriend I hadn't seen in 10 years, and I'm like, girl, you need to stop choosing these bad men because it's the cycle of abuse. Like everything you're doing is the same thing. So if you want something to change, you got to change your environment. You got to change the people you're dating.
Yes.
Sorry, not sorry.
No, and don't you dare be sorry, because because we are in charge of our own happiness.
Yes.
I use this podcast for many, many, many reasons, but I know people who are staying in toxic situations because they can't bring themselves to take those steps. So whatever I can say, like, you are in charge of your own happiness. And I'm so happy that you're here to echo what I've been saying about the importance of therapy. You can't make anyone go, but whatever else anyone does to heal or to get themselves out of a toxic situation, that's fine. Whether it's their faith, whether it's something creative, that's wonderful, but you gotta seek professional mental health help. I always make sure to say that. Yes. And I am not
so important.
I am not a
people around us that are literally like, after taking all those intakes, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not the only Fruit Loop who has a crazy life or crazy. There's more of us, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many amazing people out there that shared their story for the first time with my friend and I, and they decided, like, I can do this. I can make myself better. Like, I'm gonna take the step to where I am gonna be able to tell my wife, and she's not gonna think, or he's not gonna feel embarrassed or ashamed what happened to them.
Yeah.
No one asks. Look, child abuse does not discriminate. No. Black, white, yellow, green. It does not. A predator will seek the vulnerable, and it doesn't matter if it's in the family or if it's someone close. There are people out there, and y'all need to educate your children about it. There's risky people, and then there's the stranger danger people. And the risky people are people that your kids know. And when they're telling you to be quiet, to keep secrets, to not, like, that's weird. No, I don't have closed doors in my house. We don't keep secrets. You know, like, I'm hyper aware because I know the terrible things that happen to those poor Boy Scouts. Oh my Lord.
You're hyper aware, period, but that's not a bad thing. And also good on you for saying that there are no secrets in your family, because I am a huge believer in open communication within families, no secrets. Anytime I see, like, family members, do like the shh, or, let's not talk about that, I was like, that's a red flag. No, that's going to end up damaging your kid.
Yes. Well, you're teaching a bad habit,
Right.
You're teaching to lie, or not to, or as someone would say, well, you didn't ask the right question, so I'm technically not lying. Well, you're withholding information.
No, exactly. I want to make sure I give you an opportunity to talk about the bill in Louisiana that you helped pass, was allowed the victims of childhood sexual abuse. Yeah, Bill 492. Yeah, I definitely want to give you an opportunity to talk to me about that for listeners who aren't aware. Yeah.
So, again, I'm in federal court. I mean, the craziest things happen to me, but I think it's because I'm a doer. And so, like, you really put what you want in your vortex, like Abraham Hicks says, you will receive it. It's all about standing out your damn way and allowing the greatness to show up, right? And so I sought out SNAP, Survivors Network Against Priest. And so it was great because, it helped me. Even though I was in Texas, I was still talking with a knit group in New Orleans that I grew super close with. And the bill came up, and I got a call because I was in this group, and they're like, would you like to be part of the committee to help pass this bill? And I was like, well, hell yeah. I don't care if I'm in Texas. I'll be flying every on session. That's my new job. So it was super cool because I got to work with Catherine Robb with Child USA Advocacy. She's amazing. And so is Marcy Hamilton. Wow. The stuff that they do, their websites, the information they provide, I mean, hands down the best. So she was on the committee. Kevin Bourgeois was on the committee. He was with SNAP at the time. Myself, Judge Charbonnet, a judge out of New Orleans, and Jason Hughes, a Democrat, brand new politician. So we didn't think that this bill would pass at all. It's Louisiana, where the Catholic Church owns it. And Texas, the Baptists own it, by the way. We'll go to that one in a second.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, and it was the first time I'd ever been part of a bill writing thing, right? And helped out tremendously because I didn't talk much. I'm like, I don't know anything, but I did help out. I helped out a lot because I showed that child abuse is not to discriminate, right? Like, there are children that got abused by their uncle and their mom might have slapped them. I had a client like that. I spoke for her in front of Senate and the House of Representatives, right? I spoke on behalf of 5 women, actually. None of them were associated with the church. And that's what we needed to look at because you know what? That's where child abuse happens. It happens in the foster care system too. So what's wrong with us? Yeah. We need to make kids feel comfortable to know that their bodies are their bodies.
Yes. Yes.
And
absolutely.
When that adult violates that body, that child is scarred for life. It is an infinite, literally a stamp on their back that they're going to be, if they don't get the help that they need to get help, they're going to be scarred. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
On a professional level, on an emotional level, in a couple, you're screwed. I'm sorry. Unless you do the work like we just talked about. I've seen too many cases. Yeah. And numbers don't lie, people do. So I was very surprised that we went in front of the committee and you had some filibusters because, you had the lobbying to they didn't want this to pass, right? Yeah, of course. But it did. And we got to the Senate and that was the first time I'd ever talked about my rape because I am a childhood sexual survivor, right? And so I talked about it, but I talked about how even though that happened to me, look where I'm at. I'm talking on behalf of 5 other women and on behalf of myself. I'm a badass. Look what you can do. That's what I was trying to show the Senate. And after everyone got to speak, I'm still friends with all Letisa Payton. She owns nonprofit tent makers down here. She was a mom who spoke on behalf of a survivor where her son was abused, right? We're great friends still to this day. And just amazing, powerful team. And the Senate came back and were like, we need to rewrite this bill because we had originally gone for the age of 55. I have the chills every time I tell a story. Yeah. This needs to be infinite. There should be no time limit for somebody who decides one day, I want to gain my power back and take that sabotage that mark I've had on me because someone hurt me and I was too scared to show up because I was scared that I might cause a scandal or I was scared my mom might be mad at me or I don't know what the reason is. Okay. But that gives them the ability to heal. Everyone, the court system, the police should not tell someone where there's a time limit of when someone decides to heal. Okay. Some people suppress these traumas for so long, especially men until the age of 55. That's why we were shooting for 55. That's the age that most people come out at. 62 actually. So the last day, I'm not joking, on the hair of my chinny chin chin, it passed. And it was just wow. It was a wow moment because during the House of Representatives meeting, my daughter was there with me. She, so wonderful. Wow, what a powerful moment. Cause I would never in a million years would think what had happened. And so, last year I got invited to be on another committee for House Bill 206 and Senate Bill, I need to pull that up because it didn't pass. Okay. And it got stopped because of I wish I knew the camp. There's a camp in Texas. It's a Baptist camp. And Camp Kincaidus. Okay. If your kid has gone to school, gone to camp there, I would ask them some very strong questions because the allegations I've seen against this camp is disgusting. And so I think that's why we got stopped at a halt. And I think we also got stopped because we have a very red state in Texas. Yes. And we had a blue person walking it. And I don't think it should be but I just don't think she did her best with walking the bill. Right. Because Jillian will find people out the work. I will find anybody to tell their story. And I had empowering stories. And again, I will be back there next session because Texas does every 2 years to push this bill again. I mean, something needs to be done.
Yes.
I think all states should follow suit. The only good thing Joe Biden has ever done is pass that bill for children of childhood abuse. So, it's now gives them the ability to take it to court, which I think is a beautiful thing.
All I can say is just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm still going. I got lots of energy, and
good.
I'm very creative, and I really like this. I really actually like being part of change. You know what I'm saying? Like there's so much change that needs to be done. There's so much that is so wrong that, I mean, the Napoleonic Code, for instance, the only state, Louisiana, it's so ass backwards. Excuse my language, but it's just, we're not 1800s and I'm not anybody's slave. Okay.
No, and no one is.
Right. And so I want to work on, going back into the area of helping. I want to, and I got asked to actually work with the governor that's now, but that halted because they're about to have an election. But to work with opening up the statute of limitation for vulnerable adults. So Texas has a law, and it's for 3 years after you report the crime. So if you're an adult, it's really hard, because that's what I wanted to say about our story. Like, we had gone to the state police, we went to the local police, we went to the attorney generals, and they're like, well, you're not a minor. What?
So what?
The state of Texas has a great law. Patty Koo, part of SNAP, she helped actually with that bill. And I would love to do it here in Louisiana, because that's something my friend and I could have faced. We could have faced going to trial and being told you were an adult. And I don't know what it could have happened, but that could have happened in this state. So
yeah, they could have been like, you were an adult. Why didn't you say anything? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get it.
So that's my plan, is to really go deep next session. I'm working with a couple people here in Louisiana, and again, still working with my team in Texas. And I still have people going down to, the Capitol, making a presence, because that's what you have to do. You have to show up, just like you have to do that for anything. You show up, and
absolutely,
girl, anything is possible.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And your passion serves you so well. So how can people connect with you? I'm talking like a website, social media, so people can follow the work that you're doing. Yeah.
So, on Facebook, I have an author's page. It's under Jillian Edwards Coburn. Okay. I have a website, jilliancoburn.com.
Okay.
I also have follows on Instagram. So Gigi Jillian. I'm kind of transitioning because I do have someone that runs it, and I'm going to open up the nonprofit. So it's kind of like, it's something fun I like to do. I like to make people laugh. I like doing this with my son and my kids. And so I'm thinking it's going to be more posting of that. But once it does come time during session, I like to educate people, on certain things. Just when I'm bored, it pops up. I really should have a calendar, but I have very bad attention deficit disorder. So thank God I have a great team that, and I'm glad I have tons of calendars to like remind me, hey, stop what you're doing, crazy lady, and get focused.
So basically what you're saying with regards to like your Instagram is watch this space.
Yeah.
Okay. No problem. And also, where's the best place for people to purchase your book, specifically My Ugly Truth, Life Beyond Abuse?
Everything is on Amazon. So if you type Jillian Coburn, My Ugly Truth, and Cajun Spicy, a girl from south of I-10, that's the name of the book.
Right.
It's easy.
That's a cookbook?
Yeah. And they're super delicious. Going to make you like rice and gravy stick to your bones. Because my friends from New York kept asking me, how do you make this? How do you do this? And so I was like, here you go, buy the book.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'll leave links in the show notes
Thank you.
so people can connect with you. And Jillian, it's really been a pleasure talking to
It's
you.
been
Thank
so
you
great
so
talking
much.
to you.
Yes.
You create an amazing rest of your week, and I hope listeners really take a look in the mirror and decide if they need to get help, and know that it's okay to get help, that no one's judging you. It's the best decision you'll ever make.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And thank you for saying that. You take care. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Jillian Edwards Coburn on Emotional Abuse is Real. If you would like to connect with Jillian or buy any of her books, I've left links to her website, social media accounts, and Amazon pages in the show notes. If you would like to share your own emotional abuse story here on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out at hello@sereneleadsrights.com, via our Facebook page, Emotional Abuse is Real, or through Instagram at Serene Leads Rights. Please note that this podcast should not be used as a substitute for professional mental health services. If you are a victim of emotional abuse and need help, please call or text the Suicide and Crisis Hotline at 988, or call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can also text START, START, to 88788. Once again, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. Sign up for my free newsletter. And if you can, please support us through our Buy Me a Coffee page. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.